Hey guys, how are you? In front of me I have a pair of Audio-Technica M50x's Bluetooth version. Normally, I would do phones, but this is a pair that is generally a good sounding pair of headphones and it deserves a review. However, given that I'm I don't like to use the term audiophile, let's say music enthusiast, and I've been scouting YouTube to look for a decent pair of headphones, I would generally like to think that a lot of reviews about this pair in particular are fairly misleading, and I will explain why. Mostly because of the design. They are designed the same way as the old M50Xs, the cabled version. There's no difference other than, they have implemented a decent set of controls on the left-hand side, and that's pretty much the entire difference. So the design is pretty much the same as the old ones. You do have volume up and track forward, volume down, track backwards, play, pause, stop, and answer call button. You have your 3.5mm jack, which you can use without battery, and then there is an off and on button. One thing I don't like that instead of USB-C, they opted to use micro USB, which is technically becoming obsolete and just makes me carry a lot of cables with me wherever I go. That's pretty much it. You also have a small touch panel here. When you hold your finger on the left earphone, it triggers your phone's assistant, whether it's Google, Siri, Bixby, or whatever you're using. What I don't like about this design, number one, they're hefty and they're very heavy. And technically I had issues where they would drop down from my head, and my head is really not that small, and especially these cups are fairly hot and they make your head sweat. I live south of China. I'm in Guangzhou, which generally tends to get very hot in the summer, and for me these are impossible to wear outside for longer than 5 minutes because I would start sweating all over the place. So do they provide decent amount of sound isolation? Yes, they do, but they do tend to get increasingly hot and very uncomfortable after a short period of time. That's number one. Number two, the padding on the top of the earphones is very thin and very soft, and if you actually press here you can feel the backbone of the entire headphone, and the padding here is just not enough. After wearing them for like half an hour I already start getting fatigued, and that's not a good thing. The sliders on the left and the right are actually pretty good. I never had any accidental or automatic changes in the size that I choose for myself, so they're pretty sturdy and they stay in place. They're very heavy. They're not very comfortable to be worn for a longer period of time, so that's that. And the personal gripe that I have is these left and right letters here that are just an eyesore. But other than that, it's an old design and it's technically pretty sturdy. No creaking, no noises, nothing like you can twist and bend them. They're very easy to pack, take them, and it's pretty much it. Also, what I don't like is that you technically have to use the proprietary cable because of this little area here of the actual cable that goes inside the earphone. So if it's not a proprietary cable, it technically won't fit, or it will fit, but it will be very loose. But other than that, that's pretty much it. What I do like is that the battery lasts for a very long period of time. I think that on my first charge I got over 35 hours of listening, so that's pretty good. Takes a while to charge. I think it took me about 7 hours to charge from 0 to 100, so you have to leave them overnight. You cannot get a quick boost after charging for a short period of time, but it is what it is. But technically, with all these downsides, I'll give you a comparison to my old pair of Sony MDR 100 AAPs. These are much more better looking, and these are 2 years old. As you can see, the ear cuffs have been completely ransacked, and so is this headband. But even the headband, even though it looks very thin and cheap and it has been destroyed, this is actually much more comfortable for wearing than these. I can wear these for hours on end and not have an issue, whereas these half an hour, maybe an hour, and that's it. Like I have to take them off because I start getting a headache. So that's pretty much it for the actual design. But like I said, where these do shine is the actual sound fidelity. And if we talk about the actual sound, you have to understand that like we have bass, mid, highs, and then we have technically four areas of sound in between and on the extreme edges. And these are not completely flat. They are very flat fat-ish, but they are not completely fat. You can hear a little bit of bass, but where the majority of headphones, for example, going back to the Sonys, like Sony headphones, and majority of headphones that are made for, let's say, general use or general listening, they will give you a muddy, compressed sound with a lot of what we call them mid-bass sections. So it's not the thump, it's not the actual bass, but it's somewhere in between the mids and the bass, so that it technically feels warm, it feels pleasing to your ear, and whatever you play, whether it's a compressed MP3 file or whatever it is, it's going to sound okay, it's going to be acceptable, and you get this warm, eerie sound, very pleasant for listening, and you know, it gets you through. You can generally listen to whatever for longer periods of time, and you're kind of going to be satisfied. And the problem is that once you put these on and you get to hear what the song is actually supposed to sound like when you have pronounced highs and very pronounced mids and the vocals are not lost, then listening to everything else after that becomes very difficult. A lot of people recommend these for audio engineering, mastering, producing, and I use them for that myself. And this is where they shine, but you can also listen to music on a daily basis, because you will really get the sound that the music producer, whatever song you're listening to, intended for you to hear. You're going to hear the entire drum, you're going to hear the cymbals, you're going to hear the toms, you're going to hear the snare properly, you're going to hear the vocals. For some songs, you're even going to hear things that you never heard before in that song, and this is who these headphones are intended to. If you can bear with what they lack in design, and you can go through the fatigue, this will definitely be a pair of headphones for you. Like I said, the thump of the bass, the very, very low ends are there. The mid bass, the section between the mids and the actual bass, there is no bass bleeding. This is a very flat sound. The mids, the vocals, and the very highs are very nicely pronounced, but you also need to understand that if the highs are very nicely pronounced the way they are on these, if your audio file that you're listening to on your phone is good, you're going to have a wonderful experience. But if you're listening to something that has been poorly compressed, that you have a lot of B's in your highs, you're technically going to start hearing a very faulty compressed file that you will not be able to listen to. A lot of songs, I have more than 4,000 songs on my phone that I could listen to without any problems with this pair of headphones. I just can't listen to with these because these point out all the flaws. On the other hand, the songs that have been produced marvelously, that the compression of the MP3, MP4, or FLAC, or AP, or whatever you're using, if that's good, you're going to have a wonderful experience, because you will have the feeling that the entire band is playing in your head. So technically, this is who these were intended for. And like I said, for studio mastering, but you also need to understand, if you're mastering, it's not only the headphones, you need to have the audio interface, you need to have a good sound card, depending on what you're using. So entry-level music mastering and audio file, or music enthusiasts, or whatever you want to call it, like, this is for that kind of listening. If I left anything out, ask as usual. I will try my best to answer in the comments. Would I recommend them? Yes. I bought them from Chinese JD for what was it, 1100 RMB, which is about 150 euros, a little bit less than that. So sound wise, like I said, definitely yes. Comfort wise, probably not. I'll see you in the next one.